I don't think anything's going to happen this time with Sammy Kapanen on the ice. Oh, yes. Oh.
Spezza now going at his man. Oh, those two drop it as Spezza comes in, and he goes down as he got tangled up right after the face-off with Patrick Sharp.
March 5th, 2004. What was supposed to be just another night of hockey in Philadelphia turned into something straight out of the Broad Street Bullies era. I'm talking chaos like we hadn't seen since the mid-70s. This wasn't just any fight night though. It was a fight night many consider to be the fight night of all fight nights. A game so chaotic it didn't just leave a mark, it rewrote the record books, breaking the old benchmark set back on February 26, 1981, when the Bruins and North Stars racked up a staggering 406 penalty minutes. Well, here's the crazy part. While that Bruins-North Stars game was bedlam from start to finish, this Flyers-Senators matchup was different. Almost all of its madness came at the end. By the final horn, it had broken the record with 419 penalty minutes. When the dust settled, the box score told the story. 21 fighting majors, 20 ejections, and a stack of misconducts. Even 20 years later, fans who were in the building can still remember every single punch, shove, and roar of the crowd. So, what actually sparked the most penalized game in NHL history? And how did it all spiral so quickly? Well, as we'll see, this wasn't just about one night in Philly. This tension had been boiling for years. The stage was already set for chaos. Philly had been haunted by Ottawa the past couple of years, knocked out of the playoffs in both 2002 and 2003, and they couldn't buy a win against the Sens in the regular season, dropping their last 5 straight. Then came February 26, 2004, the moment that seemed to break the camel's back. Ottawa's Martin Havlat caught Mark Recchi in the face with a high stick, earning a 2-game suspension. But that was far from the end of it. Both Recchi and head coach Ken Hitchcock made it clear they weren't about to let it slide. Recchi flat out warned Havlat he'd have to protect himself, while Hitchcock told reporters someday someone's gonna make him eat his lunch. And if there's anyone who knows a thing or two about eating lunches, it's Ken Hitchcock. Even Flyers goalie Robert Esch remembers the mood. There was bad blood going in. It was toward the end of the season. Everyone was gearing up for the playoffs. But for whatever reason that March day, it was a weird springtime or something. So yeah, the tension was boiling over. Flyers vs Senators, fight night, March 5th, 2004. For the first 2 periods, everything looked, well, normal enough. Chris Neil would open the scoring for Ottawa, but Philly would answer in a big way. Claude Lapointe, Mark Recchi, and Danny Markov all found the back of the net, giving the Flyers a 3-1 lead. This was huge for Philly. Offensively, it was the best period of hockey they'd played against Ottawa in over 15 games. In their last 14 meetings with the Sens, they'd never managed more than 2 goals. Here, they had 3 in the opening frame alone. The second period kept the momentum rolling. Kim Johnson buried one on the power play to stretch it to 4-1. Though Zdeno Chara pulled one back for Ottawa. And in the third, Alexei Zamenhof tacked on another to make it 5-2 Flyers. So yeah, up until this point the game was nothing special, pretty forgettable honestly. Sure, there were a few goals, a few penalties here and there, but it felt like any other regular season matchup, nothing out of the ordinary, at least not yet. With under 2 minutes left in regulation, Philly's up 5-2. By this point, the tension in the building had cooled off. Nothing felt out of control. And then Donald Brashear locked eyes with Rob Ray, 2 of the most notorious heavyweights in NHL history, staring each other down. Seconds later, they dropped the gloves. But Brashear doesn't just throw a punch, he absolutely dismantles Ray, leaving him bruised and bloodied. And after this tilt, as the refs tried to escort both men off the ice, that's when things really started to unravel.
And Simpson just went in after Brashear. Now he's pounding away. Anybody can get a hold of. Here goes Patty Lalime.
Esch comes in, so Lalime comes down ice.
And they're going to go.
Well, Esch won't take the mask off. Lalime does it for him. Lalime gets the sweater over top of the head of Esch, but he falls down. Now Esch tries to get another hand.
Old-time hockey's back in Philadelphia. You think the crowd loves it?
At 18-15, the scoreboard of penalties was already insane. 24 handed out, 10 game misconducts, and a staggering 153 penalty minutes from a single stoppage. And yet the fireworks weren't over. After Brashear and Ray had their initial scrap and were being separated, Brashear decided he wasn't done. As he was being escorted off the ice, he decided to throw more punches, this time at Todd Simpson and Brian Poitier. And just like that, the whole game explodes. From that moment on, every puck drop felt like a guaranteed fight. Nobody wanted to back down. Even the goalies got involved. Branko Radivojevic and Sean Van Allen squared off, and then the two goalies, Patrick Lalime and Robert S., just casually started fighting like this happens all the time in any other regular game. I love how rare goalie fights are, and yet these two seem to make it seem regular. A full-on melee was happening, and the crowd who'd seen 58 minutes of relative calm was stunned. Simpson on Ottawa remembers it vividly. He said, the linesman's taking off Brashear over to the bench or to the dressing room, and then he just sucker punched Brian Poitier. I was right there, so I jumped in, and it was just a huge brawl. Patrick Sharp also recalled, I was on the first shift of the brawl, got pounded pretty good by Todd Simpson, then another fight escalated, and suddenly I'm in a 6-on-6 brawl. That's when Lalime and Esh went at it. Esh laughs when recalling the chaos. All hell broke loose. Danny Markov was on the ice, scrums were everywhere. I turn around, and there's Lalime, no helmet right in front of me, and I'm like, what are you doing here? But honestly, it was fun. Sharp also remembers just how wild the crowd was from that game, the refs frantically trying to sort out penalties, and somehow him slipping through without getting a penalty despite getting into a fight. And that was just the beginning. What followed was pure chaos, a full-blown chain reaction of fights. Every face-off after that felt like a ticking time bomb just waiting to explode. On the first restart, it went off immediately. Chris Neal went after Radovan Simic, and Zdeno Chara bullied Matthias Tamander. While all this is taking place, Flyers GM Bob Clarke was losing his mind, screaming that Ottawa was targeting the non-fighters. Chara would pick up a misconduct on the play. Second restart now, and in comes Michael Handzus. Legendary Flowendahl dropping the gloves with Mike Fisher. Both guys got tossed. By the third restart, the crowd actually booed. Can you believe that? Well, it's because nobody fought, but their patience wouldn't last long. Just 24 seconds later, Mark Recchi would go after Wade Redden, but Wade Redden would end up dropping the gloves with Leclerc, and then Recchi was off again, this time taking on Brian Samolsky right at center ice. Fifth restart, and of all people, Jason Spezza jumps in on Patrick Sharp, and Spezza racks up 35 penalty minutes, more than anyone else that night. By now, the benches were practically empty, with each team being down to just 3 skaters. So the two teams decided to actually play again. And somehow, amidst all the chaos, underrated stud Peter Bondra scored on the power play to make it 5-3 Flyers. It took a staggering 90 minutes after the final buzzer just to sort through the penalty sheets. The final score, Flyers 5, Senators 3. But the real number, the one that lives on in the record books, 419 penalty minutes. Philadelphia alone set a single team record with 213, and 409 in the third period still stands as the most ever recorded. With the two teams set to face off again a few weeks later, many expected the bad blood to carry over, especially with the looming possibilities of another playoff matchup. But surprisingly, things never escalated again that season, or really ever in this rivalry. I mean, how can you top that brawl? The epic brawl with 2 minutes left in that March game seemed to be the peak. Their next meeting was anticlimactic, just 12 combined penalty minutes, and Ottawa got the win on the scoreboard 3-1. Still, after the brawl, Philly may have walked away with the momentum. That year, the Senators would face elimination at the hands of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the opening round, missing a chance to meet the Flyers in round 2. Meanwhile, Philly beat Toronto and nearly made it to the finals, losing in 7 games to Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Finals. In the years that followed, as the rivalry cooled, this brawl has mostly faded from memory. But Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia loves replaying it, and fans eat it up, showing this game still considered a classic to this day. Somehow, only one suspension came out of that night, Danny Markov for his third misconduct of the season. Ottawa tough guy Todd Simpson recalled it like this: "The first 55 minutes, it was just a regular game. Nobody said to me, oh look, they're going out there going after Havlat. Nothing really happened. Pretty run-of-the-mill. It's funny, once the brawl actually kicked off, everyone seemed to forget about Havlat, the guy who actually poured gas on the fire with that high stick on Recchi. Just something I noticed. He wasn't even in the brawl." By 2005, the ripple effect of this game was felt. The NHL rolled out a new rule, instigating a fight in the final 5 minutes and you'd face a suspension. Direct fallout from this night. Couple that with the Bertuzzi-Moore incident just days later, and suddenly the league had to reckon with how far the violence had spiraled. Today, this game has mostly faded from memory, much like the Islanders-Penguins fight night on Long Island, which honestly is why I wanted to make a video on this fight night too. An internal highlight reel for the people who love old-time hockey. Hardcore fans still remember it as pure Broad Street Bully energy reborn. They see chaos, the craziest 2 minutes in a hockey game they've ever laid eyes on. 20 years later, I gotta ask you boys, was this the craziest game ever? Or should I dive into one of the old bench clearing brawls of the 80s to compare? Still, no matter how you slice it, March 5th, 2004, it lives on. The most penalized game in NHL history. So what's your take? Craziest hockey game ever? Or just stats gone wild? Either way, this record isn't going anywhere. Drop your thoughts below. Hit subscribe, like, and comment if you're all about hockey chaos, and I'll catch you boys in the next one.
Old-time hockey's back in Philadelphia. And you think the crowd loves it? I think so.